better as a result of social media presence.
If it doesn't do those three things, then it's on the chopping block.
It's a return on investment discussion.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Daily Dealer Live. I'm your host, Sam Dark, and joining me today, back again, is the Yuli DiMartino. Yuli, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
It's good to have you back, man. We got an action-packed show today for everybody joining, each of you who's watching this live stream. We're live across all CDG social media platforms. Post those comments, all of them. We'll bring them into the show. It makes it more fun today. And check out what we're bringing you on today's action-packed show. Kramer on pricing strategy, maybe a couple of other topics we'll hit today. Niello part 2 on CRM shift. And by the way, we're already, Nino is active in the social posting. Tully Williams is taking the opposite side. Bring on the fixed guys, go fixed. Special thanks to Lauren, who says, let's go. Today, we're going to have Dennis Gingrich from Variable to talk about their CRM shift. And then Lindsay, CDJR, on Stellantis. But first, let's dive into today's industry headlines. First up this morning, my page got clicked there. First up this morning, in breaking news, are you doing business with CarOffer? Well, not for long. That, according to Car Gurus, they're winding down its CarOffer transactions business, including dealer-to-dealer sales and instant cash offers by the end of 2025, after its board decided the model doesn't work, they say. In today's volatile pricing environment, the company bought CarOffer in 2 deals in 2021 and 2023 for $215 million, but now expects to take a $14 to $19 million hit in wind down costs alone, most of it in the second half of this year. Instead, Car Gurus will double down on AI-powered inventory intelligence and analytic tools, making that data and automation will better serve dealers than facilitating transactions directly, they say. That's big news on this Friday. We'll talk to some of our guests about that. Next up today, another big headline: indirect automotive lender Automotive Credit Corp, simply known as ACC. They're a 33-year-old regional subprime auto lender. They've stopped all new loan originations indefinitely, citing internal and external financial pressures and strategic changes. The company will still fund already approved deals, although get your CIT cleaned up to everybody across automotive, received by August 7th, and continue servicing existing loans, framing the move as a, quote, shift in direction rather than a shutdown. The abrupt halt raises questions about whether this is a one-off exit or an early sign of broader tightening in the auto finance marketplace. Next up today, another big collaboration. General Motors and, get this, Hyundai are teaming up to co-develop 5 new vehicles, 4 for Central and South America, and 1 all-electric van for North America, with production starting in 2028. General Motors will lead development of the truck platform. Hyundai will lead the EV van, and all models will feature brand-specific design elements. The companies expect the lineup to eventually top 800,000 vehicles in annual sales. The partnership aims to cut development costs, speed up market entry, and better compete with low-cost Chinese automakers outside the United States, while meeting demand for more affordable and electrified vehicles in key growth regions. And then finally up today in the news, mid-year storms left an estimated 45,000 vehicles flood damaged across several states, on top of the 482,000 already on the road. This, according to Carfax, and many are now reappearing far from the original flood zones through auctions, wholesalers, and trade-ins. But gaps in title branding laws, title washing, and missed early warning signs allow these cars to pass inspections undetected, leaving dealers potentially exposed to costly warranty claims, buybacks, and customer trust issues. So dealer associations are recommending treat every used vehicle as a potential flood unit, standardizing intake checks and requiring signed trade-in disclosures to keep sourcing fast without letting problem cars slip through. Big news day, and that's our wrap on today's automotive industry headlines.
It's huge.
Action-packed, Yuli. Action-packed.
Action-packed. I was about to take a sip of my espresso, but I have so much energy from hearing you read the news now.
No
I'm ready to
more
run through a wall.
sips. No more snips. Let's go straight into it. So first up today, we're going to
Let's do
turn
it.
to EVP, dealer growth and success at Cars Commerce, the one, the only Mr. Brian Kramer. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me
Hey,
on.
Brian.
How are you guys doing?
We're excited to have you. Thanks for being here. So first of all, before we have anyone that may not know you, which I think most people do, you're pretty you're out there in social media, but how's biz from your vantage point in Cars Commerce? How's the automotive
So
industry?
I do a lot of visits, and I'm going around the market all the time. And there's in the last 2 weeks, there's really like two camps. People are either saying that they just had one of the biggest months they've ever had, breaking records, or
Yeah.
there's another camp that can't figure out what's going on with the traffic. How do I source more used cars? How do I win in this environment? And I think it's really just one or the other. Same thing with repair orders and service.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Before we have you pull that thread and tell us what is the differentiator between breaking records and not, and what specific steps can dealers do, we'll have you go down that road and also talk about your LinkedIn post you made today. Give us a little bit of background on you, what you do at Cars Commerce, and who you are.
So I'm the EVP of dealer growth and success at Cars Commerce. I spent 27 years in retail, 20 of those running dealerships, multiple franchises for AutoNation, the Germain family. And then I came to Cars Commerce 3 years ago with the AccuTrade acquisition for used car acquisition, which we now have a inventory management solution for that as well, that then goes into Dealer Club, our D2D auction. And right now, I really just get to have a lot of fun going around, brainstorming with innovative dealers, trying to help them find solutions. And I get to live at kind of at the tip of the spear in automotive. And, just like with the Niello group and Dennis and Tully that are going to be coming after me, being able to pick people's brains like that are doing new and, innovative things it's not really work, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So in the famous battle between Dennis and Tully, fixed ops director, who wins in automotive today? Just out of curiosity, Brian, is it fixed or variable?
Okay, so that's a great question, and they're the perfect example.
Yeah.
In their scenario, they both win because Tully gets the fact that used cars has to make money, and their pay plans pay on both, right? So the variable gets paid on the fix that goes through the fix gets paid on the variable. So they're all aligned towards a common goal, and I think that's the answer.
That's awesome. I love it. Tully Williams quickly posted Tully and fixed. So that's his opinion. So, all right. In this tale of two cities, let's pick up with your LinkedIn post. You posted something to LinkedIn yesterday. Your quote, your headline was Carvana is winning the argument with your inventory with your customers. How is Carvana winning today?
So they've done an amazing job, and I think that they're a case study. A lot of people will debate, well, how should we do this? And everybody tries to defend the legacy processes that I did for a quarter century. But when you take a look at the data, they between CarMax and Carvana, they retail just under 3% of the total used car sales in the U.S. But they acquired just under 13% of the vehicles from consumers. How do they do that? They have dedicated landing pages. They walk customers through the steps of things that are AI clickbait that AI wants to educate. So they're very, very good at same thing we do on Dealer Inspire websites, right? We build out the SEO landing pages with SEO, rich content with schema code that's going to be really enticing for generative AI, SEO. So we're currently doing that today for dealers. But I think that the other thing that they do is they do a great job of landing the plane. They connect the online to the in-store experience exceptionally well. And what consumers experience after they appraise their car online is what they said it was going to be when they actually arrive. And they're not putting, there's a belief or a bias that they put, crazy money in the cars. And that's not really the case. They just play the numbers game and they just appraise every car. It stands on its own instead of using averages. And they're just really transparent. They're really consistent and they appraise a lot of cars. And what we found on a recent cars.com study is the more vehicles you appraise, it's not rocket science, but the higher your trade capture. But the interesting part was the less trades you miss. So if you appraise twice as many cars as you sell, which not many dealers do, as crazy as that sounds, you're going to, your missed trades to another dealer is going to go down by 50%, reducing reliance on auctions.
So the metric should be you should appraise twice as many used cars as you sell.
At least. If you appraise
At
twice
least.
as many cars as you sell, your
Okay.
trade capture, trade-ins on transactions is going to be at least, we say it's 53%. And then if you can,
So why?
Go ahead.
What's the stopping point to that, Brian? Why don't most dealers in August of 2025 do that? And if you're talking directly to a dealer, principal, or a general manager, what should they do today to win that battle back with Carvana? I hate to pull the line from Monty Python, but a lot of people would have said Carvana, they're dead. And then they came out of nowhere and they said, I'm not dead yet, right? And they've resurged and they are dominating right now. So what should a dealer and a GM do today to compete in that acquisition marketplace with used?
The same thing that I did when I was in retail. I tried to figure out how are they doing it, and I want to out Carvana. And if you do a customer journey map, just like they do in other industries, Disney, for instance, they're going to say, okay, let's compare their experience of a consumer buying a car off the website, and then let's lay over our experience and let's see where the gaps are. And then you start attacking those and narrowing those gaps. That's the first step. The second step is you got to get all your managers on the same page. When I go into a dealership or when I speak at 20 groups, there's 3 things that every single dealer group says the objections are and why they don't do it. The first one is, I want to see if I can take it in for less. You got to do the math and say, if your trade captures at 25%, is it really, how much are you really saving? Then they say, well, I think that the customer is not going to tell me the truth. Okay, but they're not telling the truth to Carvana or CarMax. The goal is you want to get them in. If you want to get them in, give them a number so you can validate it. That's the quickest way to get an appointment. And then the second or the third one is, I'm worried that we're going to put too much in the vehicle. So as long as you have a guaranteed offer like we do with AccuTrade, you don't have to worry about that, and you still be competitive. But I think it's the fact that people want to over allow, under allow, and with AI, that's not going to AI-based search. It's actually going to deprioritize you with those search engines. So it's Occam's razor, the shortest distance between 2 points, the clearest answer is what wins in today's market.
Interesting. All right. So doubling your trade volume, making sure you're dead on in the dollars. Are you seeing trends where used car managers in store are actually appraising trade-ins less than what they're actually buying vehicles for at auction? That's a trend
difference.
$3,000 to
$4,000.
How does that make any sense, right? Like the best trade-in is that customer sitting in front of you and the history on that vehicle, and it's not it's not an auction source. You should pay more for that trade-in.
You should, and the desirability is better. The scarcity is better.
Recon's less.
Depreciation, recon's less. You know exactly what you're dealing with. National service history is better. Everything about those vehicles are better. And the biggest problem with turn rates is you got to wait on average 10 or 11 days to get a vehicle from the auction. So now you've already depreciated the car that long, especially with EVs. You're leaving yourself to so much more market fluctuation. So if I'm any dealer who's in retail right now, here's what I would be measuring. Am I appraising twice as many cars as I'm selling? And that's not look to book. Look to book is about cars I praised. How many did I cap? How many did I win? So am I appraising twice as many cars as I'm selling? Most dealerships, the vast majority are not doing that. I would want to be at a 50 to 55 to 60%. I've seen dealers that actually have pay plans based on this trade capture. 70% of people have a trade. So the average for the United States is like 34% of trade-ins at franchise dealers, just to give everybody a frame of reference as to what's occurred over the last 20 years. And then missed trades and whatever appraisal tool you're using should be less than 10%, ideally less than 7% of losing them to a competitor. And everybody thinks, well, I don't want to give everybody a number because they're going to shop me. But what we found is the polar opposite is what happens.
So why aren't we sounding the alarm in August of 2025? I mean, isn't CarMax a case study in proving that it's important to meet the customer where they're at and do business the way they want to? I mean, I think us as dealers, we stand on this podium saying, hey, we're involved with the community. We'll help you, after the sale, which is all true. But does the customer today see as much value in the after sale as they do in, the price of entry or the ease of access to getting that car?
I think that the consumer would much rather deal with a dealer. And when I talk to consumers, they tell me that they would much rather do that if it was even a little bit more, if it was more friction than even dealing with one of these two, that they would still choose their local dealer. What
Yeah.
I find is when I start peeling back the onion is that I deal with dealer principals. They're in. They're like, I'm hearing you, Brian. This is the only way to go. And then I talk to the general managers. They're in. But then we start peeling it back on the implementation, or I'll come back in to check in. And there's one rogue manager that is not bought in, that we didn't get, across the board. And that one person dictates the tone and the inconsistency and the confusion for the sales team and the BDC and the internet team. And that's where it breaks down and the lack of buy-in occurs, or people justify, well, it's whatever confirmation bias or sunk cost bias they want to give on why Carvana or CarMax are doing what they're doing. But the reality is they're acquiring 2 million vehicles a year somehow, instead of saying what, arguing why. I would be trying to figure out what they're doing.
Right.
So how do you get buy-in from that rogue manager, used car manager, or whatever else? Listen, Brian, that guy he's an assassin. He's been a veteran used car manager for 20 years. He knows what he's doing. Little bit of fly by the seat of his pants, but by God, that's the best way to sell cars today. Like, how do you pull that guy over except for pay plan?
Two ways.
Yeah.
First, I think you got to put them at ease that they're not getting replaced and that they can appraise a lot more cars, because a lot of those people want to touch every single appraisal, right? And they're the only ones that can do some special way or whatever. But I tell them it's taking you away from confirmation calls, training, interviewing, recruiting, one-on-ones, the important things that you should be doing, reviewing the CRM, merchandising, doing all those things. And when you put it in that perspective and you say, how are you ever going to get to, and really I see dealers doing 300%, 3-to-1 appraisals to sales. And I said, how are you going to get to that point? You're a pinch point in this process. That's the first thing. The second thing is I pull up what are the 3 best vehicles that are selling in your market? Okay. It's 2023, blah, blah, blah. Let's price it with you. Let's price it with CarMax. Let's price it with Carvana. And let's see what your website widget says. And they're typically all pretty much the same. So then I ask them,
compare them side by side.
Yeah. And if these guys are appraising 80% plus of their cars in an automated way, why can't you do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Fascinating. All right. A couple rapid fire questions as we get to wrapping up here. So we talked earlier in the show today about the headlines, the flood damaged vehicles. Any advice for used car managers and folks out there this month thinking about those flood damaged on top of the 500,000 already sitting out there? What are you looking for? How do you protect your dealership and your customer against those?
Yeah, so I would be looking underneath the floor mats. I would be looking, typically that water line is right on the brake pedal, the accelerator pedal. Above that, they might clean everything else up, but those are the parts that they miss. And you'll see a little bit of, residue on those parts of it. I would also be scanning it with an OBD scanner like we use with AccuTrade, because that's going to say if there was a light, Christmas tree lights that went on and then had to be turned off. And I lost my FJ Cruiser over this, so I'm extremely familiar.
Yeah,
I know, it was a treasure.
That's a classic.
It was
That's
favorite.
a classic. All right, next question up. So that's some good advice for our listeners. Yesterday, ChatGPT 5 was released. How does there's a report recently that came out that said 25% of car buyers now use ChatGPT to research the car they want or should get. What does that mean for third-party marketplaces like Cars.com?
Oh, that's such a good question. I did this last night. I'm actually looking for my daughter's RAV4 lease is up, looking for a Tacoma. And I'm embarrassed to say I don't know the difference between a TRD Sport and a TRD Off-Road. And then I wanted to know the lease payments. It was $930 at night. It actually leaned on the third parties, not just us, but 2 other ones it was leaning on heavily, pulled heavily from Reddit and Dealer Rater, which is Dealer Rater's part of Cars.com. But it was actually referencing the third parties more than, I think it's actually, well, I know it is. Clairvoyant says
helps.
it's more relevant than it ever has been. But I would say that the consistency across all third parties, the consistency on your dealership website, everything, consistency is what is most attractive to these engines. So you've got to make sure that you're doing it all the same way, not pricing all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Final question up today, and then we got to wrap. Brian, we appreciate you being with us. Talk to us about where the used car market generally is heading as we get towards the end of this year and into next. Like, acquisition is top of mind. Obviously, you point to Carvana. Is there anything else that keeps you up, keeps Cars Commerce up, that our dealer audience should be thinking about as we get into the latter half of this year?
Well, we're in the tightest point we've had in supply in the last 12 years. And we're right now at that point, and then it's only uphill from here. But I actually think I'm very, very bullish and optimistic about used car supply and used car sourcing, provided they do what we just talked about. And people have to get over biases. I'll give you one quick example: EVs. Of the record month in the 47% increase, and they're projecting 20% more with Carvana, 10% of their sales were EVs. And that's something a lot of dealers overlook because of whatever bias that they have. You got to trust the data, and you just got to be willing to buy everything.
Yeah. Brian Kramer, EVP, Dealer Growth and Success at Cars Commerce. Thanks for being on the show, sharing your perspective. We want to have you back. Your knowledge of the industry is awesome. And thanks for sharing with us the difference between the dealers that are succeeding and winning in used car acquisition and not via some of the other competitors. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Brian.
Super fascinating, right? So
Always.
I
He
like
kinda
that
looks like Jack
volume
Reacher.
of. He does. He's got some
Yeah,
good
he
stories
does.
too, by the way. I love that concept of, as a used car manager, if you sell 100 used cars at your store, you've got to find a way to get to 200 or 300 quotes. And I wonder if part of it is, you want to win. Getting no a lot is I don't know. I don't know what the objection is. So
Listen, I mean, the lazy ones are sitting and saying, yeah, I would love to appraise more cars, right? But they need to think outside the box. How do you bring more cars into appraise? Because the fact that, hey, I run at 70% lease penetration and I don't have enough trades coming in on deals, that's not an excuse, right? Go out, market, advertise, figure out how to bring more cars into appraise, period. It's a numbers game.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's turn to Market Pulse. Anna, head of editorial content at CDG, welcome to the Daily Dealer Live.
Hey, Sam. Hey, Yuli. It's great to be back as always.
So, Anna, we've long reported the increase in insurance premiums across the board out there in automotive. You've researched that over this past week and how it's impacting auto sales and how dealers are impacting. Share with us some of the research and findings you and your team have come up with.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as of August, the national average for annual insurance premiums hit $2,679. That's up more than 30% over the last 2 years. And in places like New York and Maryland, premiums are topping a just mind-boggling $4,000 on an annual basis. Now, dealers can't control the insurance rates in their state, but they can control how well they understand which brands, trims, models are, the least expensive to insure in their markets. Data from Car Edge shows compact SUVs and crossovers tend to be the most affordable. Vehicles like the Mazda CX-5, Honda CR-V, Hyundai Kona, they all average just under about $1,950 a year in insurance costs. But, and same goes for the Subaru Outback, the Hyundai Tucson, Jeep Wrangler, Kia Niro. But on the other end of the spectrum, you've got models like the Hummer EV, the Corvette, the Hyundai Palisade. They can run over $3,000 a year to insure. But what does this actually look like on the ground for dealers? At Sames Auto Group in Texas, COO Daryl Gramillion told us about a deal that completely fell apart over insurance. A couple had just bought a car as a surprise for their daughter. Everything was agreed. The paperwork was ready. But after they added the VIN to their policy, their premium spiked by $3,000 a year. It's not a daily occurrence, but it happens enough that Gramillion's team has a game plan in place that they use to tackle these kinds of circumstances. They bring insurance into the conversation much earlier. They sometimes even call agents mid-deal with the VIN and the driver, to get an actual quote before penciling anything. They've also started tracking which models consistently trigger higher premiums, especially for those first-time buyers or young buyers. And if a new car pushes the payment, too high when you add insurance, they just redirect that buyer to a more affordable unit at, a sister store. So basically, at the end of the day, from our vantage point, insurance is a dealership level strategy. And the stores that understand what drives premiums by trim, region, customer profile, they're the ones that are going to keep winning and closing deals today.
That's
and
awesome.
that's everything. Yeah.
Thank you, Anna, for sharing those tips and
Thanks,
strategies.
Anna.
I remember back selling cars, and this was decades ago, where insurance could blow up a deal, and that's probably more prevalent now today than ever. So having a strategy is smart. How much do you think Hyundai's new play, Hyundai's saying, hey, we're going to offer insurance to our customers. How much of that do you think is a play on affordability, or is it just, trying to stay connected to the customer longer? Do you think that's why they're in it?
Yeah, it could be a ton of reasons why Honda decided to go this way. This is not the first time we've seen something like this from an automaker. My guess is they're just trying to open up some more revenue streams to
Yeah.
capture more customers, whatever it might be, possibly to set off some tariff costs. But, if this has been in the works for a while, maybe they just kind of figured it could help with the affordability crunch.
Yeah, makes sense. Lauren Klein says, great insight. Anna, thanks for being on the show and sharing that perspective with us.
Absolutely. Thanks so much,
Thanks,
guys.
We got another comment from Nate, the truck driver. That happened to me when I added a Benz and I switched companies. I wanted the car more than the insurance company. And so they made the switch. There's a great company out there. CDK was in the insurance business for a little while. There's another company called Autocomplete that's doing a nice job of providing insurance premiums kind of behind the scenes. And I just wonder if that could be a good strategy or a good ploy to help mitigate and minimize some of the payment differences. So, all right, let's jump to our next guest. Back, on much high demand. The last time Dennis Gingrich, sales and finance director at the Niello company, was with us, it stirred a little bit of controversy and a lot of questions online, social media. So, welcome to the show, Dennis Gingrich, sales and finance director at Niello.
Yeah, good to see you guys again.
What's up, Dennis?
Dude,
You were
right?
only here a couple weeks ago, and you're back. And of course, Tully, you brought him. He's monitoring you on social media. So
There you go.
Um, so tell us, for those that didn't hear your original situation last time, you made a switch from one CRM to the next. Tell us, for those that weren't here before, who did you switch from? Who did you switch to, and why? What motivated you to make that change in the middle of a busy summer selling season?
Yeah, so the first question, we moved from VIN Solutions to Drive Centric, and the why behind that was a handful of things. I wanted better phone and text integration from VIN Solutions, and I wanted a more integrated application for our team to use, because I just feel the easier the application is for our team to use, the better customer experience we're going to deliver. So that would be the why. And as far as I know, there's never a good time of year to implement change. So it was just rip the Band-Aid off and let's go.
Yeah. And so how far are you into the transition right now?
So all of our stores are officially live. Our final 2 stores, which are our 2 Porsche stores, they went live Monday, as a matter of fact. But we've got everybody's here. We haven't had any casualties reported. And, we're a full month into this party, and so far, so good.
So I think we asked this originally when we got together, but have there been any improvements in these key core metrics since the transition? Have there been any declines that were maybe unexpected? Give us the good and the ugly of the change.
Yeah, I think, the metric we all look at is how are sales, volume, margin. I don't know that a CRM necessarily plays into that, but when you look at July 25 compared to what we did the year prior, we were about flat. So that's good. We're tracking a better year this year than we did last year, which is exciting. But from our standpoint, really some of the highlights have been really just customer engagement, having the integrated AI, reaching out to customers, doing important tasks, but really menial tasks has been good. It's served up some opportunities that I personally don't feel our stores would have had the opportunity, because let's face it, when you assign a bunch of tasks in a CRM, not all salespeople are super enthusiastic about completing them. So that's been good.
So walk down the role of AI in this tool. What specific tasks are AI able to do and doing better than maybe the human interaction was doing before?
First, this was really a shift in mindset. And we I'll say this, I probably should have listened to Matt over at Drive Centric out of the gate, but we started, just because we had our VIN Solutions hat on, started assigning tasks, and we manage completion of those tasks. We never expect we're going to get 100%, but we want it at a high level. But the
And,
AI,
and Dennis, when you say you assign tasks, you're assigning tasks to salespeople or
yeah,
BDC
the
reps
work
in the
plan,
former
do
world.
this
Yeah,
tech,
yeah.
this email, all that good
Yep.
stuff. And we started out that way, but what we found is the AI client really did a good job of engaging with customers. We looked at a statistic a couple days ago that our clients are engaged. 70% of them engage with us, the Niello company, whether that be through the AI client or our people. Which even on our previous provider, when we make outbound calls according to Car Wars, our customers do engage with our dealership. So we're blessed in that regard. But it does a good job of just being consistent and disciplined, which I think is something human beings as a whole just don't do as well. And we had a great example of this just yesterday, as a matter of fact. That it just, hey, how's the BMW doing that you bought from our Land Rover store? And I'm paraphrasing, of course. And customers all, it's great, but I see the new 26 Defenders coming out. Hopefully interest rates come down, and lo and behold, this month Land Rover has some subvented rates on some Defenders. So, and then it notifies the salespeople, and then it's up to us to engage in the phone and the video and all that stuff, and get them in, and make the magic happen.
See, Dennis, this is one interesting element, I think, of AI. Everybody kind of assumes the AI will take it over and you just kind of let it do its thing. And there are probably some cases where that happens. In this case, it's enhancing the experience, right? You quote 70% engagement on the tool with AI. What was your engagement prior to that? Did you follow that metric, or do you have it?
Well, we really didn't have an AI tool. I mean, we had a couple. We used, different AI clients in the market, which we don't have anymore. So that's been good. It's built into the CRM, which is a much better experience. But just generally, like, our email open rates are great. When I talk to my Car Wars performance manager, our customers answer our outbound calls at a much higher rate. I think that's two things. They help us get our lines registered so we don't show up as spam. And our marketing manager, Tiffany, is, she hates the word email blast, which I think is great. We're just selective about how hard we go after our book of business. It needs to be, relevant, and, the appropriate amount of frequency. And I think that's a byproduct of our engagement.
So giving your tech stack, so to speak, as it relates to your CRM. So you've got this new CRM tool. You mentioned Car Wars. That's tied into it, right? What function does that perform as it relates to the CRM?
It just monitors all of our inbound and outbound calls for us. And then it has like a scorecard, and they call it mystery shop, which is really good. So I can quickly assign like a rating that I believe is, a good indicator. It's super easy to monitor the phone calls right out of the platform. So it's one less tab. But the thing that I really, really enjoy, and this was a challenge we had on the old CRM, was, we say if it didn't happen in the CRM, it didn't happen at all. So, guys could make a phone call from their cell phone and log a call. The way we have this locked down, if you don't initiate the call out of the CRM, you aren't logging the call. So if you don't have a log call in there, you're not getting the protection, because when our salespeople aren't using the CRM to make those calls, we lose the ability to get a manager to maybe jump in on a call that didn't go that well. And we're certainly losing out on coaching opportunities so we can train and help them become better salespeople.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess the point is, with the CRM change, you still have these other tools, and those tools continue, and they've just kind of enhanced that experience, I guess, right? Like,
Well, we've got rid of some tools just because they're
what'd you
embedded.
get rid of?
We got, and no shade at these vendors. Co-Video was a great partner, and we really pushed video, and that was really good for our business. But, that's native in the application now. And I think this is just a byproduct of the walled garden that the car business has been, is, yeah, we'll integrate, but integrate means putting a note in the CRM. And then when you're looking for a note, you're just scrolling and scrolling, trying to find the note. And then you got a link outside the CRM where it's now native, and it's very easy to get a AI summary of what's going on.
So you mentioned the video. Video is still a component that you're engaging with in your CRM. What has your video percentage gone up, gone down, stayed flat? What's the net result? Video is important today in the
Our
sales
video
process.
has gone up. We were really pushing it hard with co-video, and they helped us get really good. But we have
A
continued.
great tool, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah.
amazing tool.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not using, no, don't. I'm not. If you're not using video, like keep not using video, and we'll do it here. It's not good for the rest of the industry.
Tully Williams just posted video needs to be 100%. So
Yeah.
he must know that you're at like, what percent are you at?
Right. That's where we're at. We got a couple stores on
100%.
the cusp, but we push, we want that open, like my introductory video. That's what we've gone away from. I don't need the salesperson anymore to send a text, send an email. Let the AI do that and let the people do the video and the phone. And I think that,
and then
go ahead.
Your team's brain power is then able to focus on that engagement with the customer and being their best self there.
Yeah, it is. And, this was interesting because ahead of this switch, Drive shared some interesting data. And it was, when you send a day of appointment confirmation as a dealer, your show rate runs right around 80%. And then the appointments where you don't send a video, that's like almost, close to 20% less. So it's like we do it. The managers are expected to do a day of appointment confirmation. I mean, because that's a meaningful lift because we know if we bring, go ahead.
So that's not just a call, that's a video.
A video, hey, this is Dennis over here at Niello BMW Mini. I saw you scheduled some time to work with Sam Dark this afternoon. Thanks for giving us our time. I saw him getting the car ready. Introduce me to, let's meet one another when you get here. Boom, done. It's 15 seconds and I get a 20% increase show rate.
So new CRM or not, I'd be super curious from our audience to post what percent of car, Daily Dealer Live audience is sending a video to confirm an appointment same day. I don't think it's super huge because it's tough to get people to send a video, period.
Yeah.
But that percent is incredible. All right, last question, and then we gotta jump. Was there anything disruptive about this transition? A couple questions online were, did you have to close down the day that you actually transitioned? Yuli and I both looked at each other and said, probably don't really understand automotive if we're asking that. But was there anything else that was terribly disruptive about the transition?
No, I wouldn't say terribly disruptive. I think, given some challenges and fairness, overall, we're happy with the change. I think it's going to be a good thing for the organization. I would say one thing that was a little bit tough, the installation it's remote. We don't get people on the ground doing it. That was tough. A lot of the support is done through chat, although we just got our performance manager and he even sends us how-to videos, which is super great. There's some asks like, appointment confirmation, the AI reaches out and does that as well. But, the customer can't reschedule the appointment with the AI client. But dude, I mean, those are all in the grand scheme of things, with where we're at. I mean, those are all fixable.
Dennis, that goes to a advice I have to a lot of these AI-driven companies, tech-driven companies. You've got to have the best people to help implement the product because it does take a mindset shift or a great partner within the organization to help spearhead it. And the better the people are at integrating and installing, the better the result ultimately ends up being. Peel off the great people later. Don't do it initially up front. And I know you're not saying that in this case, right?
No, we're happy with the people. Great job. It's just like there's no perfect tool. Sam, Yuli, you guys know that. It's just what's perfect for me.
All right. As we wrap at your next visit, we're going to find out why you have Elon Musk behind you, but we're not going to do that today. We're going to save that for the next. It's a tease for your next appearance. Tully Williams, never to be outspoken, says 15 to 45 seconds is the best video. So again, to our dealer folks listening out there, are your salespeople sending 15 to 45 second videos to confirm the appointment? That's an incredible, great practice.
Low-hanging fruit.
Huge. Dennis Gingrich, Sales and Finance Director at the Niello Company. Thanks for joining and sharing your perspectives in this part 2.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Thanks, Dennis.
Good luck in the rest of your transition as you go through that. So fun conversation. It's always good to have Dennis back. One day at a month or so down the road, we're going to do a cage match, fixed ops versus variable. We'll do a little round table, Dennis versus Tully, because I do think Brian said it best. They do a great job of collaborating. They each defend their own area, but they work really well together, and that ultimately benefits the dealership and the customer. So let's talk about who's supporting our show today. Hague Partners. Public retailers cite it. National media trusts it. Dealers rely on it. The Hague Report sets the standard for dealership M&A data and trends in auto retail. Read the report at haguepartners.com/Hague Report, or do your best to scan that QR code for more info. Or if you're watching or if you're listening to the podcast, you can go into the show notes and pick it up there. Thank you, Hague Partners, for supporting the show. And that report really is a wealth of information for all those curious on multipliers and M&A buy-sell transaction data. For the rest of the buy-sell stuff, go to the CDG buy-sell tracker, which is hot right now with a ton of activity. So next up today, let's turn to Nino Sita from General Manager at Lindsay Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Nino, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Hey, how are you?
Hey.
We're pumped to have you. Thanks for being on the show. So our first question to everyone is this: how's biz?
It's great, man. I mean, it's it all, like somebody else said, it all depends on how you see the world and how you see the business and how you see the market. And we came off a fantastic July. New cars was up almost 196%, I think, of last July.
Wow.
And number 1 in certified, number 7 in the country in certified. So yeah, everything's great.
So before we pull the thread and ask you what is it specifically from a best practice standpoint dealers could do to achieve a similar result, tell everybody about yourself. You're at Lindsay. You're newer to that group. Where do you come from and what do you do at Lindsay?
I'm in the general manager since August 1st of last year. I got in the car business back in 2006 at Lusteen Toyota and Lusteen Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. I was with them for 18 years. Went through a buy-sell with a bigger group, left them after 2 years and joined the Lindsay family, and it's just been absolutely fantastic for the last year. But I've been a salesperson, a service advisor, a service manager, a service director, fix ops director, and a general manager. So I've seen both sides of the front and the back of the store.
We got one. We talked about this last week.
We had this debate on the roundtable last week. There's not enough GMs that have fixed ops experience. And in our world today, like fixed ops is so important. So how does your let's go there before we talk about the percent increase. How does your perspective with your fixed ops background as a GM today change how you look at fixed ops and you bring them into the organization? How do you think about fixed ops different with your background?
When you're a service advisor, then a service manager, and especially on the side of sales, we had cash blasts as a salesperson, right? We never had that as service advisors. So, one of the things I did as a service director is I actually built a cash blast for my service and parts, for my techs and service advisors, because they're just as important as a sales. I mean, everybody's important in the dealership, from used to new to parts to service to the BDC, or Keith likes to say the influential team, because they influence so many deals. So it's just got to be one team, and everybody's to be on the same page. So every single week, we have a roundtable meeting and we talk about what's going on between departments, what tension, what needs to change. Just make sure we're fluid across the board, because when everybody's on the same page, the results prove themselves.
So once a week meeting, who sits in that meeting when you're roundtabling?
There's 10 of us. So it's myself, my GSM, my used car director, my service director, my parts director, my controller's there to go over any of the accounting things. My customer relations manager, my BDC director, and then my director of variable operations, who's in charge of the finance team.
You know what? That's cool. BDC director sitting in the meeting with fixed ops. We heard last week BDC, we should recoin it, or week before last, frontline sales, right? So bringing them into that conversation, just getting everybody all together, to our dealers listening, that's a great best practice. So thinking about your result, number 1 in CPO in the region every single month, and you quoted your percent over year in used car sales. What are 1 or 2 things that you're doing this month in August of 25 to help achieve and accomplish that result, getting so much of a percent increase over prior year and over competitors?
Well, first thing is just being transparent. As like we talked about video before, video has to be 100%. Last month we sent 1,200 videos. We do an introduction video, of course. I don't do templates. We don't do the regular stuff most people send out. A walk around of the car with a salesperson. The car is the stars. You talk about the car more than about yourself. And then the manager does an introduction video, especially if they're out of the state and the remote deals. I have a process where my manager puts a VDP up, puts a worksheet up with a breakdown of the out the door numbers on the other side, their face right there in the middle, and they walk through the car and they walk through the numbers breakdown. And we make it as easy as possible for the customer. And I certify everything. I don't care what it costs. I have to certify. Interesting.
So let's back up just a little bit on the video piece, since Dennis pulled that thread. What's the technology that you're using to deliver that video to your customers?
So we're on Co-Video. I've been a Co-Video customer since 2019. Actually was at NADA and spoke on their panel for Co-Video just because it's such a dynamite product. We have Dell computers on the showroom and actually have the little pop-up cameras on every single one for the salespeople. But it's all done on their cell phones.
Okay. And you said they can see their face and then they can also see the write-up. So you're doing the write-up, their face, and the car all in one screen?
Correct. Yeah. So we just split screen it and have the VDP on one side, the worksheet on the other side, and just, hey, here's your car, clean Carfax. We go through iPacket. We go through the reconditioning invoice. Hey, got for brand new tires, rotor's been machined, And then we go, here's your sale price, taxes, tags, processing fee, out the door. And if you want a transportation quote, just let me know if you want it closed or open.
And at what point in the process are you having that conversation? So they've reached out,
So for people that, I'm in Virginia, if you're outside of my state, we'll sometimes send that before we even get a response back. Just because we want to go, hey, here's my car. You like my car. You see that I took good care of my car through iPacket. We just want to show you it's a transparent experience plus tax tags and processing fee. Here's your number based off your zip code. If you need a different quote by different zip code, just give us the number.
So what would you say to the dealer that's listening to this and they're going, that's a lot of information to give before they ever come through the door, right? The traditional model would say, I need them in the dealership, and that conversation, you've got to engage in a way where you bring them in. What would you say to somebody that says that's too much information too early?
I started selling cars under like the most old school car guy tactic you can ever imagine, where you never quoted a price, you always sold the appointment, and that's how you sold cars. There was no other way past that. It's 2025, guys, and somebody else is going to do it if you don't. And if you want to chase the volume and you want to grow your service department, you've got to make sure you're selling as many cars as possible, touching as many opportunities. And I piss off a lot of people the way I do that, because they go, you're giving me any opportunity to hold any additional gross or do whatever you want to do. It's the way we got to sell cars now, guys. I'm if you're not doing it, somebody else is going to, and that's why we're going to keep outselling you.
So it's a video record I got to ask one more follow-up question. We'll come off it. It's a video record that sits with that consumer forever, right? Do you ever get where the salespeople, I'm sure they're working with a manager before they send, but ever any mistakes as they're sending the videos or errors or other issues that come up where that on that permanent record, they have to be addressed later?
So my sales managers are the ones sending the videos of the numbers breakdown. The salespeople are not doing the actual worksheet breakdown. They'll do a video VDP review and go through the Carfax and the car and the recon. When it comes down to the numbers, one of my 5 managers is sending those videos out.
Got it. That's very cool.
To me, the alarm that's going off is, so you got some pretty impressive figures here, 15 turn rate, right? So the elephant in the room would be, what's your volume? Where are your cars coming from, right? Because that's the pain point for everyone. Where are you getting your cars that you can be number 1 in the region, number 7 in the nation?
So last month we sold 117 certified. I started July with like 155 on the ground or something. We ended the month at 136 retail. And then I said, hey, August is my 1-year anniversary. I want to start chasing 200. So, I personally bought last month, I think 72 myself. I have my salespeople that are very well compensated. So the first time you buy a car as a salesperson, I pay you $200. Second car of the month is $300. Third car of the month is $400. Fourth car is $500. And the last car is $600 for the rest of the ones you buy through that. So if you're a new salesperson in the business and you sell 8 cars a month and you buy 8, you're making 80 grand a year.
But you're saying you bought 70 cars yourself. You're talking about off the street, not at auction, right?
Both. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So through auctions, through Facebook groups, I'm a car guy. I've been in the same market for a long time. I'm a huge car enthusiast myself. I personally own about a dozen cars. So people know that, if you want a Hellcat, Nino's the guy to talk to. If you want to sell your Hellcat, Nino's the guy to sell it to.
Number 1 pre-owned Hellcat dealer in the East Coast. Pretty strong. Pretty strong.
So why are you CPOing every single used car, or as many as you can? What's your strategy behind that?
I got that service background. I want to make sure the car is super clean. I don't want a customer in my door after they buy a car going, hey, the brakes are below 50%. The tires are below 50%. Every single car gets an air filter, cabin filter, wipers, and oil, no matter how many miles. If it was at Jiffy Lube 15 minutes ago, I'm still doing it just to make sure it's done right, because we've all seen that crushed drain washer or the loose drain plug, and It's just do it right the first time. The
Number
customers are
one
happy, the
mistake.
word of mouth, and then the reviews.
Number one
I mean, like,
mistake.
we have so many positive reviews because of this, because I sell quality cars, and that word of mouth spreads like wildfire.
The number
So
one
you
mistake dealers do is under recon. And then when the customer comes back in, you're going to do the work anyway. And you just pissed off that customer for life. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sam.
So you've got momentum and you can feel the energy with what you're doing, and you're seeing year over year increases. And you're at a Stellantis dealership, right? Talk to us a little bit about how you reconcile the tale of two cities there, between an enormously successful used car operation and then a brand where you're kind of having to write your own success story.
So I got to be careful because my rep's coming in on Monday. I don't know if they're watching this or not, but with Stellantis, we were number 2 in the state of Virginia, new car volume. We've been number 2 for the entire year. I got a monster store I'm trying to chase down up in Tyson's Corner, and it's a battle of having the right inventory. Really, really focusing on day supply and ordering the right cars. I walked into this store and we had like 500 cars on the ground, 60 Dodge Hornets, tradesman Rams with 4.5-inch screens. You just got to have the right cars, live in conquest, see what's moving in your market, see what colors move the quickest. And day supply is just the rule to live by, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Regardless of the brand, regardless of the OEM, you're going to go out and write your own success story. All right. Thinking ahead, for dealers that are watching today, through the end of the year, and then maybe over the next 12 to 18 months, what do you see as the biggest opportunity in the used car space? You've identified the one, you implemented process, you're capitalizing on it. What's the next thing?
You got to know what's in your market and know what people are looking for, and really know, and just know your backyard. And develop a niche for yourself. Have a name for yourself. I've been here for a year, and if you want to buy a supercharged Hemi, I'm the guy to come to. I've always got a TRX, a Trackhawk, Hellcats. I mean, I've got a Viper ACR on my showroom floor for sale right now. So, I want that. I want to be the place where people walk in, and every morning when I walk in my showroom, I smile. Because I've got this brand, I've got this image, and everybody's scared of these cars. And to be honest with you, Dodge had their video today on YouTube of the launch of the new Charger. Everybody said on the edge of the seat going, is the Hemi coming back? Is the Hemi coming back? And they didn't. It's still a 6-cylinder. Nobody wants their EV, and everybody wants a Hemi. Everybody wants to feel that growl as you hit the gas. So develop a name for yourself and develop a brand for yourself. And as long as you do it and you work on it every single day, you're just going to grow.
Well, speaking of the name and the brand, a few comments. We turn to social media here. So we go to Igor K. I see Lindsay from Virginia. They always do great. Lindsay Lexus is my favorite Lexus store. So props to your Lexus store there. Lindsay's a very ethical company, volume franchise dealer group with major success. Bob Riva says, what is a BDC? Business Development Center, right? Frontline sales, as we learned last week or heard last week. Igor says, those meetings are always brutal. Going over contracts in transit, money due, and titles is brutal. Dealing with HR people is tough. Controllers are not easy people at every dealership. So what's interesting is I think that attitude is prevalent in automotive. And I think some GMs that want to avoid the conflict, the discussion, they actually don't hold the meeting because it's easier not to. What advice would you give to somebody saying, hey, you know what, getting all the stakeholders in one room and having an open, authentic conversation is a best practice, but it's not worth it because of the headache it causes? What would you say to that person?
I think you should get out of the car business.
Move out of the way. Move out of the way.
If you're going to operate a store at a high volume that's profitable, you got to get everybody together because you got to work issues out. I mean, crap happens.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. Yeah. And when people know they have that, there's an open environment in here. Like there's no judgment. So if somebody's got an issue, we talk about it, we work through it, and we come up with a solution before we leave the door. Some meetings are 45 minutes. Some meetings are 2.5 hours. It depends, who's got what to say. And I promise you, if you do that, when you have that synergy between all departments, even through the accounting office, it's insane how good your store feels. Just people feel it when you walk in the door. Customers can tell that everybody's here to help everybody. Everybody's here to help a customer. Everybody's here to get paid.
Yeah. What's the biggest issue you're dealing within that roundtable right now that you could publicly talk about as a challenge? Like what's one of the biggest hills you're trying to climb right now?
We owes. And, so we have like a process where you have to, I've told the service guys, because I've been a service advisor getting that WIO just says fixed dent. No idea where it is. The paint's cracked. So we have a damage disclosure form that has to be signed by the manager, the sales manager at delivery, signed by a customer, and signed by the salesperson, documenting what we're going to fix on the car. And then that has to be properly turned over to service with a fully described WIO. When the customer comes and they hand it, there's no questions. And they have to go back to the sales tower, calling the sales manager going, hey, do I do this? Do I do that? And I've got them so, like, the service guys are so spoiled now, where if there's ever one that's not perfect, oh, this is BS. This should have been done. So that's my biggest issue right now is WIO. So if that's my biggest problem to fight right now, I'm doing good.
Well, by the way, what a great forum to have that conversation in that group.
Yeah.
Everybody can get different perspectives, and you leave that conversation all aligned and all together. So Nino, Sita, GM, General Manager at Lindsay, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep Ram, we absolutely appreciate having you on the show, sharing your perspectives, and would love to catch up with you at some point in the future as you continue crushing it in CPO used there at your store.
Thank you so much, guys. It was an honor. And like I said, I watch you guys every day. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for
Nino.
being on. So heck of a fun show and a heck of a lot of comments. Keith Costanza says this guy makes a lot of sense. Madison Miller says spot on when it comes to inventory. Colin Kubik says flamin' hot quote, live in conquest. Eager did make a point about CPOs. He said some manufacturers incentivize dealers to sell CPOs. That's why he's trying to get as many deals CPO'd as possible. What do you think of the idea of bringing we need a fixed versus variable roundtable? That needs to happen at some point in the future. So if you're in our audience and you're passionate about one or the other and how the two work together at their best, come on. But a heck of a lot of good best practices today, Yuli. So
For sure. I told you I didn't even need that espresso.
You didn't. All right. To our entire audience out there, all 4,000 plus watching us live, thank you for watching today's episode of the Daily Dealer Live, where we break down the biggest moves in the car business as they happen. Don't forget, we're here live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We'll be back Monday. So if this is your world, we hope it is, hit like, subscribe, turn on those notifications so you never miss a beat. And we'll see you next episode, everybody. See you Monday.
See you guys.